Hi, greetings from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. My name is Gisele Santos. I'm a Google innovator and a member of the panel of experts of the 2016 K-12 Horizon Report. I'm really happy to be here today at DIF talking about a subject which is very dear to me, the culture of collaboration. This will be an opportunity for us to talk about how we might deepen learning and teaching opportunities by promoting a more responsible and circular use of knowledge and information. The idea is to invite you to develop your own strategies on how to organize and evaluate the production and consumption of content in your classrooms. Together, we will network ideas and imagine the role of circular economy and its principles as a potential game changer in education. Are you ready? Can we get started? Okay, I'll be on and off camera as we move along. So, see you in a little while. So, why talk about collaboration? First of all, we're naturally wired to collaborate, right? Of course, it's important to remember that when we choose to collaborate, we also choose to commit and work towards a common goal. So it's much more than working in groups. It's much more than pairing up with someone, right? It has to do with commitment, with a common goal. The collective essence that emerges when we work collaboratively generally creates a more responsible and circular use of knowledge and information. Circular is a word that you'll be hearing here and there along this presentation. We all know that education is going through a period of redefinition. Skills that were not necessarily regarded as teaching or learning material and requirements have gained importance in our classrooms. Teachers are making considerable changes in the way they teach in order to address the importance of skills such as collaboration, communication, creativity, and so on. Here you can see a business survey that was run by The Economist in partnership with Google. Of course, when they talk about these skills, they have in mind a professional mindset, but this can also be transferred to the academic world. So team working, which is pretty close to a collaborative mindset, is second in importance. And we cannot deny that all the other skills, or most of the other skills that come after, are related in some form to collaboration. And also the Horizon Report K-12 2016, which is a report that maps out emerging technologies and trends across the globe. By the way, the Horizon Report is a wonderful example of a collaborative initiative. Okay, this is produced by a group of specialists that come from different countries, different settings. Okay, I really do encourage everyone to take a better look at this year's edition, because we won't have time to go over the whole document here, obviously. So the Horizon Report brings collaborative learning as a successful way to improve learning and to approach issues such as global citizenship, such as creation of content, and dealing with empathy, and so on. But first, before going to the production of content, which we'll see in a little while, I'd like to ask you a question. Would you say that collaboration plays an important role when teaching or learning? Do you think collaboration is part of your lesson. When you're preparing your lesson, you have that in mind as an instructional tool, or better, as an instructional goal. And do you believe that the knowledge and information that we share with our students, that we get from our students, is crowdsourced? Do you think, or do you think that knowledge and information can be constructed individually only? Okay, why am I talking about crowdsourcing information and crowdsourcing knowledge in the classroom? Because also in the 2016 Horizon report, and now as a short-term trend, we see students as creators of content and knowledge. So they leave that stage of being mere spectators, and now they're producing the content that they use for learning and for life. Okay? So how do you evaluate and organize this content, or this consumption and production of information that happens in your classroom? Students are producing lots of things. Students are all the time sharing their knowledge and their production. How do you evaluate and organize this? Do you have any idea of how much content and information is out there? I would like to invite you to watch a clip with me. Okay, it's a very short clip, and it's just to get us in the mood for discussing content consumption in production a little more I would say productively. Okay? And we are back. So let's take a look at the question I asked you before the video. So if you had to choose one of the images below, which one would best describe the way content is produced and consumed in your classroom? Is it something more like a line, or a linear style, and you have the model create, share, and dispose? For example, when you plan a lesson, you then teach the lesson, and that's the end of the life of the lesson plan. Or even when your students are producing content, let's say a composition. So you assign them the task, they produce the composition, they share it with you or a particular audience, and that's the end of the life of the composition. So this would be a linear style. Or do you resort to a more circular approach? And here you have a different model, which is create, share, open, reuse, or repurpose. What does that mean? For example, students create content, they share it using open and flexible resources, editable resources, so that other people can reuse or repurpose that content. They can do anything they wish to the content that was produced before. So here we're talking about recycling, upcycling, remixing, anything, as long as it's open to changes. So which one best describes your classroom nowadays? Linear or circular? That brings us to the circular economy. Why do I think the circular economy can inspire us? This is a definition of circular economy that can be found on the Ellen MacArthur website. Okay? All right, but what does that have to do with education? Well, I believe that the modularity, the versatility, the flexibility proposed by the circular economy pretty much aligns with what we seek when we consider an innovative and sustainable model of education, right? Opposed to the linear consumption and production of content, we should be looking at a loop closing frame. So where we can expand the lifespan of information and knowledge, right? And I guess the circular economy can help us frame some of these strategies. So let's think of a few of the characteristics of a circular approach to learning and teaching. So when we think circular, we think of collaborative and flexible frames. We also think of optimized and scalable resources. So we have to know that we cannot plan for projects that are, or tasks that are extremely closed. We have to think about designing for waste minimization. Okay? Does our project have a short lifespan? What is going to happen to this content when it reaches its life cycle? How is this disposal going to happen? Is it going to stay online? Is it going to become a digital tattoo that we are not proud of, or something that we wouldn't like to see online years from now? And we also have to make sure that this content is shareable and open. Otherwise, we won't be able to recycle, upcycle, reuse, remix, and so on. We have now reached the part where, based on characteristics of a circular model and on the understanding that these parts influence each other in the reconstruction of knowledge, together we can think of a few examples or a few practices that will introduce a circular strategy in your lessons. Okay? So when you think circular, you have to think of collaborative and flexible frame. The resources must be optimized and scalable. You have to design for waste minimization. The content must be shareable and open. Okay? So let's think of a first example. And here we're going to call this line of thinking as, we're going to frame it as think open, not close. This has to do with licensing and licensing models. I really encourage you to talk about licensing model, the different licensing models to your students. Why? It is very important that students become aware of what it means to have open educational resources. Okay? What it means to be under a Creative Commons licensing or a public licensing to change and remix. Okay? An example of use would be Wikipedia. How do students deal with Wikipedia? Most teachers feel Wikipedia and they think that, oh no, that's not reliable resource. But it can be. It can become very reliable. Okay? So if you encourage your students to use Wikipedia and not only use it or not only consume it, but produce content to Wikipedia, we're going to be exercising their skills of critical thinking, communication, collaboration. You're going to tackle things such as checking information, building a timeline, and of course, as the content is open, they will be able to revisit their production frequently and see how it was changed by others. Another way of thinking about think open and not closed, as I mentioned, as a teacher, is to make your lesson plans open to other teachers. Why not? This is not cheating. Many people think, oh, but that's cheating. No, when you make your lesson plan open to other teachers, you're giving them a chance to look at the same lesson, but maybe finding different strategies to a specific problem. Okay? And then when you talk about it, when you go over it, you could actually find new ways to deal with your own lesson plan. So this would be a think open, not closed strategy. Licensing and making your content truly open. Another strategy that we can adopt is to think compass, not map. So instead of having from A to B strictly, think orientation, guidance, not a predetermined path. There is a school in São Paulo. The name of the school is Escola da Vila. And they have a very, very interesting way of working with content created by students. Students from, for example, grade 6 create content that will be later used by grade 9. So this content is not only consumed by grade 9, but later recycled or repurposed by grade 9 to cater for young learners in the school. So the circular movement reaches its highest point when all the content that is produced by grade 6, 9, and young learners is shared with the whole school in their YouTube channel. So students have access to this transformation and circularity of information. So instead of saying, produce this, and you give them strict rules to follow, you can say, this is what I expect from you. How are you going to get there? It's up to you. And how this will be dealt with by other people later, it's going to be part of a group decision. And finally, another example that I would like to give is when we promote collective thinking. And this is going to be a very personal example because it is about the Google Innovators in Brazil. Since the time we met in 2014, we have talked to each other every single day. We truly believe that collective thinking will take us to higher places. So plans, ideas, new business, content that we are creating, everything is shared with the group. It doesn't mean that we write everything together, but most of the ideas, if not all, passes through the group, okay? In order to have a collective picture of what is going on and what can be done. So what are the perks of creating a circular strategy in the lesson, in your classrooms? When you are involved and when you're totally engaged, learning happens in a deeper way, okay? Students become more active. Creativity usually flows better. Connections happen faster. And you create a more horizontal relationship among the players, that be teachers, the students, community. Okay? Of course, when we find out that the content we produce will have a longer lifespan, we tend to get more satisfied and more motivated to produce quality content or more quality content. And if this content is truly open and editable, the tendency is that it's going to be around 24/7. Get to the end of our session, I'd like to say that the idea today was in fact an attempt to invite you to develop your own strategies and ideas on how to deal with the consumption and production of data, information, and content in a more sustainable way. I hope that after these minutes together, you are able to imagine the role of a circular economy as a potential game changer in education. Feel free to ask any questions, to start a discussion, to make comments and suggestions. You can reach me at my Gmail account, or you can find me on Twitter, and there I will be Feed the Teacher. Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank DIF for the opportunity, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation for putting this together, the Horizon Report for giving me a chance to collaborate with so many special and talented educators, the Google Innovators who make my life different every day and teach me so much. I would like to thank Helena and Escola da Vila for providing me with this example that I shared with you today. Okay? Have a wonderful week. And I hope to talk to some of you soon, or all of you. Thank you. Bye bye.